Under the One China policy of the United States, the Republic of China on Taiwan is not recognized as a state or a government. The International Civil Aviation Organization, headquartered in Montreal, Canada, confirms that the world community does not recognize a Republic of China nationality. Now, based on these facts, pro-Taiwan activists are urging the United States to re-evaluate its policy of recognizing the non-state of the Republic of China as the competent authority to issue passports to Taiwanese persons. They are claiming that forcing them to hold such passports and identifying them as possessing Chinese nationality is a serious violation of their human rights and an insult to their human dignity. Where are all of these arguments heading? What does the Taiwan Relations Act say? Should this passport controversy be included in Washington's yearly review of Taiwan policy issues? Stay tuned for our full report coming up next.
Recent protests on the streets of Taiwan have drawn international attention. Now, Taiwanese human rights advocates are taking their complaints to the U.S. executive branch. Our news channel has recently learned that a number of Washington, D.C. reporters have been investigating Taiwan's unresolved legal status. At a recent invitation-only press briefing in the White House, they brought up some pointed questions about the legitimacy of the so-called Republic of China passport. Our British correspondent, Darren Stevens, was able to get an invitation. Darren, what's your reaction to what happened at the press briefing?
The British media are taking interest in this topic because the Chinese government officials are expounding a view that Winston Churchill, in his later years, specifically denied. Churchill denied that Japanese surrender ceremonies in Taipei, October 25, 1945, could be interpreted as resulting in a transfer of Taiwan's territorial sovereignty to China. I recently spoke with professors in the Department of War Studies at King's College London. They also told me that there are no criteria under international law whereby surrender ceremonies could result in a transfer of territorial sovereignty.
Well, excuse me for a moment, but why are we talking about surrender ceremonies? I thought we were talking about the validity of the Republic of China passport for use by Taiwanese people.
Well, exactly, but it's all tied together. The Chinese military officials announced Taiwan Retrocession Day on October 25, 1945. And then based on that, they announced the mass naturalization of native Taiwanese as ROC citizens on January 12, 1946. A few years down the road, they then promulgated mandatory military conscription policies over the Taiwanese populace in mid-1949 or thereabouts.
So it does appear that all of these issues are closely related. However, for the benefit of our listening audience, maybe you can clarify what the correct procedure should be.
Well, according to professors at King's College, the surrender ceremonies only mark the beginning of the military occupation. Under the Geneva Conventions and the Hague Conventions, there is no other possible interpretation. Additionally, based on those conventions, the announcement of the annexation of the occupied territory, the mass naturalization of the local inhabitants, the implementation of mandatory military conscription policies, or the introduction of an entirely new legal code or constitution, etc., in occupied territory, all these kinds of actions are war crimes.
So let me get this straight. The recognition of Taiwanese people as Republic of China citizens is based on an illegal military order by the ROC military officials in January 1946 in occupied Taiwan territory. Is that a correct statement of the legal situation?
That sums it up pretty well. So, not surprisingly, more and more native Taiwanese people are contacting reporters in Washington, D.C. and demanding that they bring up these issues with US executive branch officials.
We have some scenes from the press conference. Let's cut to those now.
A number of reporters have asked for a clarification from the White House, the State Department, and Customs and Border Protection under the Department of Homeland Security, asking why any passport issued by the so-called Republic of China Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Taiwan can be considered to be a valid travel document for native Taiwanese persons to hold when traveling internationally, and in particular, when completing entry and exit procedures into the United States. You have clarified this by further noting that under the One China policy of the United States, there is no Republic of China, and indeed the Taiwan Relations Act does not recognize the nomenclature of Republic of China. In addition, according to the standardized ISO codes of the International Organization for Standardization regarding citizenship and nationality in the world community, there is no Republic of China or ROC designation. However, the Republic of China passports carried by native Taiwanese people clearly indicate that the holder is a Republic of China citizen. So, you are wanting a legal justification for why the U.S. executive branch agencies recognize Republic of China passports as legal travel documents, and recognize that the ROC Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the competent authority to issue such passports. Have I left anything out?
Well, the entire situation goes back to the ROC Military Order of January 12, 1946, which authorized the mass naturalization of native Taiwanese people as Republic of China citizens. From that time up to the present, by continuing to regard the native Taiwanese people as ROC citizens and therefore eligible to carry ROC passports, you are saying that the mass naturalization of people in occupied territory is legitimate. But a quick check in any library or on the internet quickly shows that the mass naturalization of people in occupied territory is a war crime. If the civilian officials in the executive branch are not aware of this, certainly someone in the Department of Defense must have the relevant knowledge. They must know that there is something wrong.
There was a 1959 court case in Washington, D.C., where the judges said that Taiwan is not a part of the national territory of the Republic of China. Moreover, the State Department has repeatedly said that the ROC on Taiwan is not a sovereign entity. Its status is undetermined. The Congressional Research Service's reports to Congress have confirmed those findings. All of the analysts that have been offered by the reporters here today goes along with that. What we are questioning is, under such a foreign policy framework, how can any U.S. government official maintain that the Republic of China regime on Taiwan has the legal authority to issue passports to native Taiwanese people, and to claim that these people have Chinese nationality, and to print that nationality designation on their passports for the native Taiwanese people in consideration that Taiwan is not a part of China? Such a nationality designation is certainly an insult to human dignity.
Under the One China policy of the United States, there is no Republic of China. Additionally, under the Taiwan Relations Act, there is no Republic of China. Isn't that what the executive branch always says? How can a non-existent country issue passports? Under U.S. law, isn't that equivalent to conducting a massive counterfeiting operation?
Counterfeiting is a serious crime under the U.S. law. Why isn't the Justice Department investigating this issue? Under the current passport arrangements, the human rights of the native Taiwanese people are certainly suffering.
Well, standing on the podium here, I have to support U.S. government policy. If the executive branch wants to play both sides against the middle on this issue and ignore the human rights of the native Taiwanese people, then I guess that is their prerogative.
I thought human rights and human dignity were central concerns of this administration.
That is the standard line which we give to the press. Most reporters don't question it. What I have found is that, in my discussions with officials of the Department of Defense, State, Homeland Security, and of course here in the White House, there is a general sense of satisfaction with the government's current Taiwan policy, and what includes the subject of what passports or travel documents the Taiwanese people should be carrying.
But speaking on behalf of all the reporters who have done research on these issues, we must say we are confused. The native Taiwanese people we have interviewed are confused. The legal experts with whom we have discussed these issues are confused. We are forced to come to the conclusion that the mathematics of the U.S. executive branch's Taiwan policy do not add up.
I guess that depends on who is doing the mathematics. If you really think you have a valid complaint, maybe you can persuade the members of Congress to take up this topic when they have their next congressional hearing on Taiwan. I'm really not authorized to say any more on this topic. Moving along to the latest developments in North Korea.